Hi, hello. I'm not sure if people can see me, but I think so. Thank you so much for joining this launching event. We are really happy to be sharing with you this Ilu Toolbox, which has been created in partnership with Deetken Impact and Mujer, and thanks to the support of the USAID Invest program. We will have a few panelists joining us, and I'm happy to introduce you to them right now. And I want to offer my apologies for the little delay that we had in the kickoff, but thank you again for joining us. So we have Alexa Blaine, who is a managing partner and co-founder of Deetken Impact, our Canadian partner. We also have Carmen Correa, our Senior Vice President and COO from ProMujer. And we also have Gwen Snyder, USAID contractor, private sector engagement support. Now, we're going to have some opening remarks. It's going to be a short period of time here. And I'd like to invite Alexa Blaine to give us a little bit of a panorama about the Ilu Fund and the Ilu Women's Empowerment Fund. Thank you.
Absolutely, it would be my pleasure. So as Jess said, I'm a managing partner of Deetken Impact. We are an impact investment fund manager. We focus on investments in women's empowerment, clean energy, and social enterprises in Latin America and the Caribbean. We have a team based in Canada, as well as in Costa Rica, Mexico, Honduras, Jamaica, and Peru. Oh, and Costa Rica, apologies. And we currently manage about $100 million in impact assets across 3 funds. We're here today to talk about ILU, the ILU Women's Empowerment Fund, which is a gender lens investing fund focused on Latin America and the Caribbean that we manage in partnership with ProMujer. And the strategy of ILU is really to invest in great businesses that are leading in one or more gender lens areas. And for us, those gender lenses are women in leadership and governance, products and services that are designed for women and girls, workplace equity, and value chain equity and advocacy. We include gender assessment in our investment management process, throughout our investment management process, from screening through due diligence, and as well as monitoring our portfolio. And we couple the capital that we provide to companies with strategic business advice and engagement specifically related to gender. At this point, we've raised $29 million of our target $35 million, of which we've deployed $23 million into a portfolio of 23 companies in 10 countries, from Mexico to Argentina. The ILU Women's Empowerment Program is a program that we're implementing in partnership with USAID. And its purpose is really to amplify the impact of the fund and advance women's economic equality in the region through the application of blended finance. The ILU Women's Empowerment Program has 3 main components. The first one is blended finance. We've structured a new ILU impact bond, which is available to US and international investors. It is a 5-year, 5% bond with first loss capital protection of 10% provided by ProMujer as a catalytic investor. Secondly, we're directly engaging with portfolio companies of the ILU fund to advance their gender business strategies. And lastly, we're providing knowledge dissemination and advocacy to support the broader gender lens investing ecosystem in the region and to really have impact beyond the ILU fund itself. And so this program will include webinars for women entrepreneurs, workshops for companies to learn more about specific gender strategies, investor education events to get more investors knowledgeable about gender lens investing. And of course, it will include this toolbox. This toolbox was developed through the leadership of ProMujer. It is an incredible resource, and I will turn it over to Carmen to share more.
Thank you very much, Alexa. And it's really excited to be here participating of this event. For everybody to be on the same page, I would like to start on defining what is gender lens investing. So the key idea behind gender lens investing is that investment can simultaneously generate financial return and advance gender equality. So gender lens investing is actually an investment approach that deliberately incorporates a desire to make a difference in the lives of women and girls while meeting the risk and returns objectives appropriate for an institutional portfolio. So gender lens investing is actually the practice of deliberately a gender analysis, incorporate the gender analysis into the financial analysis in order to get better outcomes. And this is key to understand how we can really make a change. And what are some of these success stories? Why should we invest with this gender lens? Because when we see that these investments are done with this lens, we actually find that it drives to a gender equality. It can also improve the business and investment outcomes. It can also lead to poverty reduction, and it has a significant, it actually has a significant market opportunity. So there are various studies that can show, and actually there is various data that can be accessed on the impact, on the economic impact that gender lens investing can generate. And when we go to Latin America itself, when we find out that 75% of women entrepreneurs cannot access and have reported that they don't have access to the needed financial instruments, it's when you find that there is a huge gap and that there is a need for new financial instruments that can cover this gap. The gap in access to credit for small and medium enterprises led by women in Latin America is really big, is considerable big. It's actually of around $5 billion for women-owned microenterprises and $93 billion for women-led small and medium-sized companies. Lack of access to capital is perceived as the main reason for failure. So it's actually something that we should look much more in depth and that we should take action. The impact investment industry in Latin America has only invested 10% of the funds in women-led companies. And according to LAVCA, the Latin American Venture Capital Association, of the 78 impact investment funds in Latin America, 27 reported not having invested in women-led companies. This is 35%, while 23, this is 30%, reported that only 10% or less of their investment were in companies led by women. So there is a huge opportunity. That is why funds like the Ilu Women's Empowerment Funds are key in the region. And that is why a toolbox like the one we are launching today are a key element and would be of great support for women entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexa and Carmen. I think there's feedback somehow, but if you all hear me well, I would like to invite Gwen Snyder to talk to us a little bit about what GenDev Hub is, what are the activities in the field around women's empowerment, but also on the perspectives on the relevance of these knowledge products as the Ilu Toolbox. Thank you, Gwen. Please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Jessica. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. So GenDev, actually, we have all these acronyms in USAID. This is the Gender Equality and Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. And so the main purpose is really to help both within USAID as well as outside USAID think about gender awareness, think about how all of us can elevate women and improve women's livelihoods, and as well as their economic output. And so we offer expertise, and we accompany implementing partners in the field who want to partner with GenDev specifically on programs that really seek to help women, both women as beneficiaries directly and indirectly. And so, in terms of, what we're doing, GenDev, we have a GenDev fund that has helped supported, this initiative that we're talking about today. And currently, we launched this fund in 2019. And so over the past 2 years, with a budget of, $200 million, we have implemented 78 programs in about 65 countries worldwide. And those programs have really ranged, really a wide range. We have a team that works on climate change and utilities, environment, energy. We have another team that I'm part of that focuses on women's economic empowerment. We have a communications team, and we have a public policy team. And so we're all working together to implement these projects in the field. Regarding my team and what I work on, I'm the private sector engagement and women's economic empowerment advisor. So I'm wanting to connect with private sector as well as public sector organizations in the field that really want to elevate gender and implement activities that improve these women's livelihoods. So I'm particularly interested because I have a financial services background, and I'm a former investment banker, in working with programs that include blended finance and initiatives like this one, and also programs that specifically want to work with first-time fund managers that are women and gender lens investing, and then in turn investing in activities that are both being led by women and are for women. So really, this initiative and the launch of this toolbox really directly applies to, really gets at the heart of what GenDev is interested in.
Thank you so much, Wen, and again for the support. It's been really great working with the DAI team and USAID, and we're very happy to be here, just showcasing what we have accomplished thus far. And now, please join me in watching a super brief demo video about what is the toolbox and how it works. And afterwards, we're going to have sort of a panel with some more in-depth questions. And after that, we'll have a Q&A session. Thank you. Hi, and welcome again to the launching event of the Ilu Toolbox, Forging Diverse, Inclusive, and Equal Businesses. My name is Jessica Olivan. I'm Director of Alliances at Mujer, and we have created this toolbox in partnership with Deetken Impact and thanks to the support of the USAID investment program. I want to share with you a little bit on how this toolbox works. In the main page, as you can see, you will be able to find, first of all, the objective of this toolbox, which is to create or to help address the gender gaps that exist within companies. When we say companies, we really refer to any micro, small, and medium-sized company or enterprise, but this is also useful and replicable into larger companies and in any organization around the world. We have divided the toolbox in the 4 gender lenses that we use at Mujer and Deetken to analyze and implement our programs and initiatives. Lens 1 is women in leadership. Lens 2, equity in the workplace. Lens 3, products and services that benefit women and girls. Lens 4, the value chain equity and advocacy practices. Here, there's a roadmap that takes you very quickly into how to use this toolbox. First of all, we suggest to take the self-assessment for each of the gender lenses. You can take just 1 or the 4 of them. Then to use the tools that are suggested by the result of the self-assessment. And step 3, to take action to implement these gender practices. The self-assessment is also by lens, because we thought it was going to be easier for you to choose from rather than impose doing all of them. But we suggest, again, to take them all. So you can go, for example, in Gender Lens 1, this is a very interactive questionnaire that after, taking the time to read and answer, you are going to be able to have a result into what tool you should start working with. Then let me share with you. You can see the all the tools below each of the lenses. I would like to share with you just so you can see in lens number 3, tool number 13, which is all about the analysis of gender gaps in the sales process. All of the tools have been created in the same format, which is first explaining the objective and the use of the tool, what are the benefits, and how to use it. And in this case, in particular, besides the graphics, we have also created a video that is going to take you step by step to create a sales funnel in Power BI, for example. So you will be able to be accompanied in somehow. You can also, download a sample of data or this tool. And then in Toolbox resources, you are going to be able to also download or read in here online a gender equality research that we did and has hard data as of March 2021 in gender equality, women's economic empowerment, and gender lens investing in Latin America and the Caribbean. You can use it for any purpose of speaking about these topics from your company. You also be able to download the self-assessment completely, and there's the full toolbox documentation that can be also downloaded in one single document. And then, as I have mentioned before, you can download one or the 30 tools that we have created for you. We also developed this toolbox in Spanish. So if you prefer, to take the self-assessment and read the tools in Spanish, that's the possibility. And then here you can contact us, or at the bottom of the page, there's also a couple of emails that you can get in touch with us. The idea then of this toolbox is to really, make it massively used by all the companies, startups, organizations, even larger companies that are interested in implementing gender practices. This is the how-to. We are telling you not only why it's important, but how to do it and how to get to that process. So any feedback, any collaboration or potential alliance that you see, please let us know through these emails or the contact form. We will be very happy to answer your questions and comments through the same email. And if you have a specific question or comments today, please let us know in a bit. And this is it. This is the Ilu Toolbox for your use. Thank you. Let's continue with the event. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. If there are any questions, comments, or suggestions, please let us know in the chats of the different platforms. I think we're forecasting in YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn, so please just let us know, and we'll be getting your questions and comments live. At the end of towards the end of the event, we're going to have this Q&A session, and we will be happy to talk to you and answer your questions. Now, let's move on to the panel. So we have again Alexa, Carmen, and Wen, and I'm going to ask a few questions for all of them, just to learn a bit more about what we're doing, how do we see the future of this topic and this toolbox for the region. So I'd like to start with Alexa. And Alexa, what were the gaps or needs that you think ProMujer and Deetken identified that led to the development of this toolbox in particular?
Yeah, so I think the big gap in the ecosystem right now is really in terms of the how to be gender smart. What we've seen in the pipeline of companies for the Ilu Fund, and certainly in the portfolio, is tremendous receptivity to the idea of advancing gender practices. There's a lot of interest. And the challenge has really been that companies don't know where to start. And it can seem overwhelming, right, to even know where to begin. There are certainly a lot of wonderful gender lens investing resources out there, but I think what we noticed was that some can be more high level or academic in the content. Many are focused more on a developed market context, so Canada, US, or Europe, and then most are available in English. And so what we wanted to do was to create a set of tools that was truly practical for the companies in our ecosystem, which are small and medium-sized enterprises operating in Latin America and the Caribbean. And I think one of the things we really wanted to do was to break down the work into bite-sized pieces, right? So you don't have to do it all at once. You can pick something that resonates for you as a priority, and you can just work on that. And, we tried to give some really just helpful resources. So, for example, workplace equity, that can be, I mean, anyone that has kind of addressed HR in an organization, that can be a really big thing to bite off. And, what the toolbox provides is how to think about bias and gender in workplace equity. And, here are some sample policies you can use to actually implement it, right? So here's an example teleworking policy. Here's an example compensation and benefits policy. Here are some ideas around how you can onboard new staff in an unbiased way, right? And so I think those kinds of resources were really what we think is going to be helpful, and we truly hope that companies will really grab onto and use to make meaningful change in their business.
That was an awesome explanation about the toolbox and quicker than I could do it. So thank you for that, Alexa. I could take so much time. Now, when you have explained your experience, what you do at GenDev, what did USAID see the need? Why the need to support this initiative in particular?
Sure, that's a great question, Jessica. And so I would say that GenDev really wants to help others unlock the power of private sector capital to really drive inclusive growth, in countries where USAID works. And so that really means helping investors and businesses look at these emerging markets, especially Latin America, for better returns and new opportunities. And so then if we want that, if that's the end goal, then I guess we take a step back and we say, what's missing? What don't we have, and why? And so what information isn't out there, and and what are the barriers? And I think that it was really recognizing that investing in emerging markets, investing in Latin America is complex. And it takes sensitivity analysis. It takes, a good understanding of the political, economies of each of these countries. And they're varied. They're not all the same, of course. And really, I think wanting to, help investors really, I would say, decrease the likelihood of a poor risk return, ratio that really makes investment in Latin America unattractive. And so what we want to do is help, address these challenges. And so I think that was really the reason, behind this toolbox. We really felt that this was going to, facilitate investment, in the region. And again, I think more than anything, provide information. Because if you have information, I think we love to say information is power. But the other thing is information really helps you accurately evaluate risk and really evaluate risk capital. And so if we can provide tools, that really provide more information around risk as well as risk capital, then from our perspective, ultimately, more investment will go into the region. And even better, we want it to be have that gender lens. And so we want it to be directed, towards women beneficiaries, again, either as managers of funds or as part of the activities that are in that fund portfolio. And so that was really, I think, what we were getting at.
Great, and that's totally what we're working for every single day, right? Great, Gwen, thank you. Carmen, in this line, what do you see the long-term impact of this toolbox can have in the region, in Latin America and the Caribbean?
For sure, it will have a long-term impact, definitely. It will make more diverse and inclusive small and medium enterprises. That will be the first long-term impact. If you start using these tools, these more than 30 tools that we have developed, and as Alexa said, these are very simple to use, you will improve the culture of your company, and you will be able to evaluate the company's diversity, and actually everything within policies, leadership programs, succession planning, and you will be able to get women the needed tools and advancement within the organization. So it will really impact in the long term in all those small and medium companies that are willing to apply these tools. On the other side, it will strengthen the region as a whole, because as more companies start using these tools and start making these needed changes, so it will generate an impact on the region as a whole. And that is something that, of course, it will be an example for not only at the regional level, but it will be an example at the world level, at the global level. And the more strong companies we have, we will be able to have a more interesting pipeline to attract, as it was stated before, the needed finance that the region needs. So it's kind of, we are moving and we are actually giving more value to the companies. The companies that may apply and are willing to apply these tools will be able to generate a change that will also create much more value, not only for them, but also for the region as a whole.
Thank you, Carmen. And let me highlight, this is an interactive resource. So, it's web-based. Anybody can use it. You also can download the tools so you can, work them with your teams, for example, if you don't want to be connected. And again, this is in English and Spanish. So it's for the use of a good part of the population around the world. Now, from each of your perspectives, if you'd like to take, a couple of minutes each to share with us, how do you see this resource evolving? Because we have now 30 tools. These are cool. It's 2021. They're interactive. But how can this evolve? Let me start with Gwen.
Sure, Jessica, that's a great question. I think that from GenDev's perspective, from USAID's perspective, the gender gap and the gender economic opportunities gap is not closing fast enough. It got worse during COVID. It will now take 267 years to close. And so what we've done, at GenDev is asked ourselves in relationship, I think, to all our activities and the products and services that our activities are producing is, in terms of what the next step is, how do we take a toolbox like this, and how do we, really, I would say, not just impact, organization by organization, how do we impact the entire financial services industry? How do we make gender lens investing not niche, but I would say really, a key component of mainstream investing? And so, yes, with the growth of the tools, in the toolkit, but then I would also say the dissemination of the toolkit. We want this to be widely used, throughout the industry. And honestly, I would say not just in the region, but then once I would say, it's really perfected, in the region. To me, it's how do I take it and make it bigger? I ask myself, well, what would that toolkit look like if I put it in Africa, in Asia, in, really, what if it went global? What would that look like in multiple languages, offered simultaneously? And so, to us, we're going to move that gender needle, especially in, gender lens investing and the investment fund community, really when we think regionally and then globally, not just country by country. And we have to do it faster. We have to move in, miles, in kilometers, not in inches or centimeters. It has to be done faster. And so, from my perspective, I love that this is virtual, because it also means that it can really jump from Latin America into other regions and really go global.
Thank you, Wen. Carmen, I think you're ready.
Well, I totally agree with Wen, and I hope also that this tool is widely used. Actually, as you said, when as this is a virtual tool, I hope that it is not only used in Latin America but at the global level. This tool, as more people start using this tool, we will be able to generate a real change. So we will generate more gender equality, we will have more inclusive companies, we will see an effect on less poverty, we will see an effect on more jobs, we will see less discrimination as a whole, and much more progress. That is our ambition, and that is the objective behind of creating such a tool. The needs, for sure, when you are asking, Jessica, how can this evolve? The needs are not the same and won't be the same, the needs of a woman today to 2021 of the needs of a woman in 2030. Actually, we have more than 30 years operating in the region, and we have been changing. We have been adapting our products, our services. We have been developing a tool such as the one we are launching today because the needs of the women are different. So I believe this will be something that will evolve as the needs of the women entrepreneurs evolve and as the needs of the different organizations evolve. We will have to be very keen on listening to these needs, how they change, and to keep updated.
Thank you, Carmen. Alexa, would you like to add anything else?
I mean, not much to add to the excellent responses. I mean, maybe I can just share that in parallel to the toolbox, we are, directly implementing a lot of these strategies, together with our portfolio companies. And I think what's going to be really interesting is the case studies that are going to come out of that process, and which we will also be sharing together, in the same website as the toolbox, where we can see some, real life examples over, not a tremendously long period of time, like 4 months, what kind of change can be achieved in a small or medium-sized organization. So I think that's going to also be really helpful for companies to kind of see how, others have done it. A peer company might have approached the same challenge. And then, I think we're also going to be, throughout the life of the Ilu Fund, which is another 7 years, monitoring these companies over time, right? And, I think having gender smart business practices, the idea is to advance gender equality, which is good in its own right. It is the fair and right thing. But in addition, there's a tremendous evidence base that it dramatically improves business performance, return on equity, it supports innovation, it just makes stronger, more resilient businesses. And that's something that we're also going to be tracking over time in our portfolio. And so, our ability to kind of share some of that data, I think, will be pretty interesting because, this is a subset. This is 23 companies in Latin America, right? And so I think that'll be a pretty interesting evidence base that we can share over time. And then lastly, I think both Gwen and Carmen referenced, that this can go global. And, just a couple of weeks ago, we had the Spanish version of this launch event. And, just after that event, someone reached out to us and said, we want to do the same thing in a different region. Can we use this tool? And we're like, yeah, of course, right? That's what it's for. And, it's just, I think one of the things that's really gotten right about the gender lens investing as a movement is that it is very collaborative, right? And I think we can really use that collaborative spirit to make these kinds of tools available, globally.
Awesome. And let me repeat that. This is a public good. So anybody can use it. You can, use it for your internal purpose at the company, but also to share it, to present it. If there is any feedback that you'd like to share, please contact us. If there is another tool that you think it's missing and you would like to have it on there, that's also a possibility. The idea is not to recreate the wheel over and over again, but rather hopefully, putting a platform together where a lot of resources are available for anyone. So yes, okay. Thank you, Alexa, Gwen, and Carmen. We're gonna go into some of the questions. We have a lot of comments, most of them sending congratulations to the team. And then let's see, there's here one question. Is this toolbox only for Latin America or can it be used in other regions? Yes, as we just mentioned, this can be used for any region in the world, It's just a matter of, taking a look at it and see what could better fit your needs at that moment. And you can replicate for sure as well, as much as you want. So it could be for Latin America, the Caribbean, Europe, Asia, Africa, anywhere. Let me, while I'll receive some other questions, let me challenge you with one. We didn't prepare for this. Just in a couple of phrases. Besides gender equality, what is your dream for Latin America and the Caribbean? Let me go with Alexa.
Wow, that is a big question. I think the big challenge that has been pervasive in Latin America for some time is inequality, right? And I think moving towards more equal economies is really important to just really everything, right? It's important to sustaining democracy. It's important to economic development. And I think, gender equality is part of that. Poverty is disproportionately female. And I truly believe that by solving gender equality, we solve a lot of problems. Yeah.
Right, who'd like to follow? Whoever is prepared.
I will go with our vision, actually. I won't create anything new because actually I envision a Latin America where all women drive. And I believe that it's a very ambitious desire, but I think it's achievable. And of course, we have to coordinate our efforts. But if we have more public tools as these ones we are launching today, we will achieve the same. So that is actually what we promote and what we envision as an organization and as a whole. I think that is achievable if we promote this type of tools.
Thank you, Carmen. Gwen?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say from my perspective, and it probably I would say more piggybacks on some of the other answers, is I would love to see a stable middle class in every country in Latin America, because it really is the middle class that stabilizes the broader economy. It stabilizes the broader political system. It really can, if it works correctly, it can often set the tone for what I would say is tolerable in terms of politicians that are elected, in terms of corruption, in terms of violence, in terms of danger. And all those things are going to affect women and girls proportionately more than men and boys. And so, you know, I would say just that a broader range to the middle class. Latin America has some of the widest income, you know, gaps in the world, you know, which I think is surprising to a lot of people. It has the very, very, very wealthy top 2%, and others just in absolute abject poverty, and some of the worst in the world. And so I think that it's you know, smoothing that out and making that more equal through, you know, the opportunities to build up and really extend those, I guess, opportunities to the middle class. To me, that's the Latin America that I want to see in the future.
Thank you so much, Wen. And I know you have lived in the region for many years, so I know your opinion is you know, grassrooted in that, and so I appreciate it. As a Latin American, I appreciate your comment. And this you know, kind of links well into one of the questions that we have, which is, how do you think this toolbox will help young women entrepreneurs? Anyone? No. I personally think that this could really help young women entrepreneurs, because they are starting off businesses, not necessarily because they are young, but you know, it could be tied to it. And so if you start off fresh, right, with the right tools, with the right information, and with the right mindset, most likely you will have a successful business. So in this case, I encourage all of them listening to us to absolutely take a look at this toolbox and use as much as you need. And if there are, you know, any further questions, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to support either way.
You know, you know, just really quickly, just kind of building on what you said, because I worked with young entrepreneurs in South America and loved it. It was the highlight of my time in the field, and I totally agree with you. I think that if you have the tools set before you at the launch of your business as a young female entrepreneur, you could really help, you know, honestly avoid time-consuming mistakes that can also cost you money. They cost you money and they cost you time. And so I see this toolkit as really saying, these are the lessons learned. These are the pitfalls that we can help you avoid. And this is also how to decrease risks, you know, in your company, evaluate risks accordingly, and really try and, you know, grow the business as quickly as possible.
Agreed. And I think we have another question that I think Alexa could easily answer. Question is, do you anticipate taking a baseline evaluation of investees using the self-assessment, and then have them, the investees, take additional evaluations over time to monitor progress? And will you share out data on the investees' level of general equity and the performance of investments?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a core part of our investment management process. We've developed together with Mujer a gender smart scorecard, which we use to assess companies at the screening stage. So before we make an investment and as part of our due diligence. And it really assesses a company. I think we have 33 different metrics that we track to understand how a company is doing across the 4 different gender lenses. And, you know, I think what's been helpful is that, you know, now that we have deployed this scorecard across the full portfolio, we have a pretty good picture of leading and lagging practices for companies of this scale in these sectors in this region. And that allows us to communicate back to companies, you know, where we see areas of opportunity and to be credible when we do so, right? And so what we're doing now is starting that feedback loop, right? Where we've taken the time to refine the scorecard, to kind of calibrate it. And now we can start sharing that information back with portfolio companies. And absolutely, yes, we will be kind of redoing the scorecard on a regular basis so that we can see how companies are performing against it over time.
And Alexa, tied to that, do you think it's easier to incorporate these tools in startups or in larger companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenges are different, right? With a startup, the challenge is always resources and priorities, right? You know, when you're just trying to get your first bit of revenue, it can be hard to focus on anything else. And so I think that's where the toolkit can come in really handy, because it provides a roadmap, right? You can start small and build from there as and when you have the time, capacity, and resources. For larger companies, the challenge is typically that you've got something that's already built, and then you need to kind of, you know, you've got a bigger ship to turn. I think the tools are really quite broadly applicable, and will work well in both for both small and large companies. They may choose different areas to focus on. You know, for example, for a very small company, you know, where you're an entrepreneur and you've just started a business and you're the only employee, you know, governance is perhaps not going to be relevant to you, right? But you know, what is going to be relevant is gender smart product design and thinking about how you can approach women clients with products and services that are specifically tailored for them and take into account their specific needs. But for a larger company, you know, governance is key, right? And often that is the first thing you need to do, because it sets the whole tone and culture of the organization. And so that may be the place to start for a larger organization.
Yes, I totally agree with Alexa. And something important to say is that you don't need to be an expert to apply these tools. And that is something that we pay a lot of attention, not to need someone that is a specialist for the use of this tool. So an entrepreneur that is starting, or even a big company, can apply this toolbox, and you will be able to kind of progress in different times and at different rhythm, but you will be able to do it by yourself, and you won't need an expert. That is key, and that is something that in other cases you always need to hire a consultant to apply such a toolbox, and in this case you may not. You can do it by yourself.
That's right. We did that. We did it with that in mind, no? To be able to very friendly and useful. Excellent. So it seems we have more congratulating comments, but no more questions. So I just want to thank your participation, Alexa, Gwen, and Carmen. Thank you for being here with us, and reiterate the thanks to the support of USAID to go through this process. We continue with the implementation of the second part of the project. So you will be hearing more from us. We'll be inviting you to other webinars and events that we will have throughout the year. So please stay tuned, and you can follow us on our social networks, Deetken Impact and Mujer. And again, if there's any feedback or anything at all we can do for you, please just let us know. Thank you, Alexa, Gwen, and Carmen. And thank you, everybody listening and watching. See you soon.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.